Well, good day, everyone, and welcome to the Story of America. Me, your host, Andre Pace, and my co host, the invisible Rhett Williams.
Invisible.
You're having some latency issues today, bub. See, this is why I was thinking of going back to doing Zoom, because I think in Restream might be messing up your latency. But
Can you
that's
hear
much,
me?
yeah, you're better now. Uh, it's been a while since we've been here in front of everybody on the show, and there's plenty of stuff to talk about. Uh,
Too
because,
much.
oh, you think you already know where I'm going with this?
I don't know. I mean, it could be any number of directions, really.
Well, let's go ahead and start off with the big one. Um, what do you think about Ye and the Alex Jones on the Alex Jones show?
Dude, I don't. I mean, dude, I couldn't. Honestly, I wasn't surprised, but I also couldn't believe it because he's basically as canceled as you can possibly get. So he just took it all the way. Like in Western society, you just have some people that you can't. Even if they did bring some good things to the table, do you really need to say it? You know,
I mean,
he
I
just is
love
just like
Hitler,
this
man.
is
I
why
love
I can't.
Hitler.
I don't think that he's serious. I can't think that he's serious about this to
I
be
think
saying
he
stuff like
I
that.
think he's trolling.
He's got to be trolling, dude. But honestly, he does come across as sincere and what he. The thing that dude, the net and the YooHoo bottle to do Benjamin Netanyahu, that was hilarious.
Yeah, I have to admit that. Now, the fact that he showed up in a fucking gank mask or whatever the hell you call it.
Gimp mask, yeah, dude. I didn't realize that when I just saw the clips. I didn't realize that. But the way he started the interview, he introduced him as Ye, so everybody knew it was him, and we all know what his voice sounds like anyway.
Well, apparently that's the new
I don't
fashion
know why
thing.
he wanted to wear that.
I mean, Kim Kardashian's wearing it. All those people who were at that what was it called? The Ravadali or the
He
Bologna?
wants to support Balenciaga
Yeah, that crap.
because
They're
it's a
all wearing that.
Balenciaga mask.
They're all wearing that garbage. I don't know. I don't know
But
what
I don't see
fashion sense
why
it means.
he's because Balenciaga recently had this controversy where they had a BDSM commercial, but it was children
Yeah, I know. I
dressed
saw.
up in BDSM attire, and Kanye's still coming out and defending Balenciaga.
Yeah, I saw. The thing that got me with the whole thing is I come at it from the perspective of a black man, obviously, as an American, but at the same time, I'm looking at it and I'm looking into it and I'm saying, okay, a lot of what Kanye is saying and about the music industry uh, is correct, but let's not take away from the responsibility of the music producers, the writers of the lyrics. Let's not take away from the fact that black people have all the control in the world about what they will write music to, about what they will sing or rap to. Let's not also forget that for a time, and maybe even still, Michael Jackson was the single greatest musical entertainer in the history of the world, and he never used any of the type of music that the secular industry is using today to promote a message across. So let's not act like black people just have to promote garbage music for the community, because just
Yeah,
what
that's
20, 20, 30 years
there's
ago it was completely different.
obviously a certain thing sells in hip hop, but it's also not entirely accurate to say that that's all. That's what's pop. But there's plenty of artists out there who just don't get the recognition they deserve that are actually talking about stuff that's not killing and drugs and
Yeah,
all this
exactly.
stuff.
And but and then black people will say, well, they have to talk about the drugs and the stuff like that because the Jews they're only going to push the songs that talk about killing and whatnot. So I say, well, if that's true, then why not produce your own label? I mean, you got Jay Z, Kanye West for one. Jay Z is another one. Beyonce, Master P. You got all of these. DJ Khaled, Dr. Dre. You got all of these famous rap artists that have enough money to produce their own labels and have been producing their own labels for a long time. You have other black people who are connected to the music industry that have produced their own labels for a long time. BET came because they said that nobody was producing black label stuff, so they created their own network, which is now garbage. And I'll talk about BET in a moment because I had no idea uh, that there was a BET woman channel. I had no idea. I'm gonna talk about that though in a moment. And but let's not act like they can't just go produce their own label, produce their own stuff on the indie scene. And if the money is so important to them, then that shows where they're compromised at. Because you have artists like that I love to listen to, like the Rent Silent Group, that have been singing gospel for 40 plus years, uh, and they've been produced by Stax Records, Ty Scott Records. You have the groups like the Pilgrim Jubilees that were produced by Malico Records and the Peacock Records. There's several labels out there that will produce music and take labels that aren't connected to these other secular groups. So it makes no sense to try to blame the producer for the shit content that the
Yeah, I
creator
don't.
wants to promote.
I don't think that's that. I don't think that has anything to do with what he's say. That he'll say that. In the past he said that. That they're profiting off a certain. But I think that this is personal with him. It's got to be personal, or else he wouldn't have taken as far as he has. He sees it as, well. First of all, let's say that he lost like $1 billion in a day, and they shut him out from all these banks and stuff. For a long time you haven't been allowed to talk about, well, it's how Dave Chappelle said it. If they're black, it's a gang. If they're Italian, it's a mob. If they're Jewish, it's a coincidence. You should never mention it. But obviously, that's also kind of a distraction because the fact that they're Jewish is not really, it doesn't have anything to do with why they're screwing you over. That's just,
But I also want to point this out too, because I know we're about to get into the nitty gritty of it. So Kanye's obviously been hanging around with, well, let me correct myself. Ye has obviously been hanging around a lot with Nick Fuentes, whom, if you remember when we were on the Politically Provoked show, um, Dick was a guest there many times, and Brittany, who's the owner of Politically Provoked, uh, she's become somewhat of a racist and a white supremacist, which is why I won't go back on their show, and that's the reason why I've been doing Todd and Justin's show, which is now called Intrigue Live, and I do their show now.
so wait, hold on. Brittany had Nick Fuentes on
Yeah,
Politically Provoked.
yeah. When they got kicked off of YouTube, Nick Fuentes created a site called Cozy TV.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Brittany's channel is on Cozy TV, and now all she talks about now is the Jews and the white supremacists, and she's reacting to Jerry Springer episodes when he was fighting against the Klan, and they're talking about the Jews, and that's all they talk about now. Nothing else is white
So
supremacy and the Jews.
this
She's
is what
and
I know about. I didn't really. Now, in the Tim Pool interview, Kanye did confirm that Trump didn't even know who Nick Fuentes
Yeah,
was
and that's where I
before
was
this.
about to get to. Now, Mitch McConnell, old turtleneck Mitch, comes out and says, "I don't think anybody who's associated with an anti-Semite will ever have a chance of being president." Well, need I remind everybody, and I wonder if I can find it right here. Let me see if I can find it, and let's see. Need I remind everybody about this picture right here? I'm going to share my screen number 2. known anti-Semite, Louis Farrakhan, Barack
Of course.
Obama attended his church for 4 years. Louis Farrakhan calls Jewish people termites, calls them the spawn of the devil, says that Hitler was a great man for eradicating them. But it didn't stop Barack Obama from becoming president. So Mitch McConnell and the rest of the media and the rest of all of these hypocrites on the Democrat Party that have the nerve to even speak anything about Donald Trump meeting with Kanye, who let's be real, Kanye's a little lost all over the place and scattered, doesn't know what he believes in. And again, as you said earlier, I think Kanye is doing a lot of this stuff out of spite because they did. I mean, he did, you know, lose $1 billion overnight.
I think
But
a lot of the stuff that, he has had a history of saying some questionable things, but now that he's been hanging around with Nick Fuentes, I feel like he's just putting all this stuff in his ear. He's just
yeah,
using him.
Fuentes is definitely using Kanye to promote himself, to get some, to get into bigger streams, because now you're seeing Fuentes been covered by Business Insider, which is a big news thing that a lot of people go to, and that's publicity. And if you want to take anything from Donald Trump's book, The Art of the Deal, there's no such thing as bad publicity. It's all good publicity.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that completely, but there is a there is an argument to be made.
But the fact is, Barack Obama's been with anti-Semites. Joe Biden's been with anti-Semites. Joe Biden's been with Ku Klux Klan members. He voted with Ku Klux Klan members. He called them his friends. He eulogized them. So did Barack Obama. So let's not sit. Let's not act like they're associated with such and such and such and such. So that's going to be a problem, because it's not. But if Republicans are going to play this game, it will become a problem. Republicans, you know, they lost Georgia because they wouldn't come out and vote for Herschel. If the people who voted for Kemp came out and voted for Herschel, it would have been a landslide victory. But they didn't show up. Over in Arizona,
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen.
we're having some issues where there's some lawsuits going on. But Katie Hobbs, she's basically certified her own election, and now we're finding out that she's been telling Twitter and what all these people
Yeah,
not to do certain things.
exactly.
So there's a lot of stuff with
Perfect time
that.
for that to come out too. Perfect timing.
Yeah, right after it's been certified,
Yeah.
and then so there's a whole bunch of challenges going on with those things. And if Republicans want to lose an election, let them continue doing what they're doing, because honestly, I like DeSantis, but I don't see anyone else that can actually make waves the way Donald Trump could. And for the Republican Party to constantly be combating the one thing that actually made their party relevant in the last 30 years, maybe longer than that. If you want to say that the Republicans really haven't been relevant since Reagan, so what's that put us up to? 50 years?
We're
They
getting
have to
to
get
it,
it
dude.
together.
Yeah.
I mean, they really have to
You
get it
know,
together,
and
because
honestly, they're being given all the proof they need with the Twitter files drops because this is stuff we've already pretty much known, but now it's
yeah,
100%
the fourth
confirmed
batch
the
just dropped
government was
today. They
colluding.
changed what was it? Then the fourth batch dropped today. They changed the rules exclusively to target Donald Trump.
Well, and there's
No
proof that
other political
they
leader.
had weekly meetings with intelligence agencies, government agencies
James
conspiring
Baker, isn't that
to
his name? James
to
Baker, or
yeah,
is
that
it
was from
Jim
the
Baker?
first one.
Yeah,
Jim, it's the
he's
same guy.
he's deleting information about the Democrats' connection to not the DNC, the Democrat National Committee. He's deleting information about how they have been working behind the scenes with Twitter and other social media companies to censor negative
Yeah,
ads and negative information towards
he's
them.
but he's been at the point we're at now. He's been fired, but we have proof that intelligence agencies were having weekly meetings with Twitter. And if they were having them with Twitter, they were having them with what Mark Zuckerberg already confirmed they had them
Yeah,
with
Zuckerberg
Facebook.
already confirmed it, so we know that. And the hypocrisy, because what did they do when Elon Musk bought Twitter? They are immediately trying to get all of the advertisement companies to drop Twitter. They're trying to get Apple and Google to take it off the Play Store and the Apple Store. Just what they did to Parler. They got Amazon to dehost it. They got Google to take it off the App Store. It's still not on the App Store. They got it completely wiped off the internet. It just came back up on the internet last Christmas and still cannot be downloaded to a phone. They've
Yeah,
effectively
so
neutered it
he's
completely.
gotten some of the uh, some of the advertising companies have come back since he also had a meeting with uh, Apple CEO Tim Cook. He confirmed that they were never even, well, this is what he said, that they were never even planning to take Twitter off because somebody like Musk has a lot of connections. He can pull, especially with the companies that he runs, he has a lot of power.
Well, money brings power. That's for one. But
And
but I
so
mean,
far, he seems that for somebody to come out and risk everything, put it all on the line for truth, I respect that, and that's what it seems like he's doing so far.
well,
Because honestly,
it's
he didn't have to
absolutely
do this. He didn't have to buy the company. He would have been fine if he just
it's
didn't even try to
absolutely
make any waves.
commendable.
Now, he's even got come out saying this is not really jokes anymore, saying that I am not suicidal because he knows what these people do.
Yeah, and moving on with those with that now, you're seeing the media is back at it again. I mean, the Biden administration, what's his name, Mayorkas, is that no, Mayorkas is the guy over the border. Merrick Garland, the the attorney general, uh, comes out there doing another special counsel on Donald Trump again. For what, we don't really know. It's like, oh well, we're doing a special counsel because of Mar-a-Lago, but we don't know what the special counsel is really for. We just had what, a 3 year
It's
special
just a blank
counsel with the
check,
Russia Gate,
basically.
$60 million. So now they're doing it again, and then
By the
we
way,
have
Elon just posted a tweet recently. Twitter is both a social media company and a crime scene.
well, that is true.
There you have it.
That is true. Elon is really showing them the business. I mean, you had these people, this janitors, whatever they're called, they're on strike. Elon Musk fires all of them. Like, okay, you decided not to work 3 weeks before Christmas and then get upset when you get fired. You see, this is why I don't support unions in the first place. Unions had their purpose, served their purpose, and they're no longer needed unless they're unions that are made by the employees, not by an outsourced organization. Uh,
Public
but
sector unions are the worst.
yeah, oh yeah, and government unions
I
too.
think that's
Don't forget.
evil. That's what I'm talking about. Government, private, or I understand private sector if the employees want to come together and get a better deal for themselves, but when you're talking about government unions, that's that's pretty scary
Yeah, there's
because
always a
they're
deeper
trying
motive.
to basically collude to get more money out of the taxpayer. It's different in a private business.
Yeah, exactly. And they never actually do anything to better the job. For example, the teachers union. What have the teachers unions ever lobbied for that has made the education sector better?
Nothing. I would say nothing.
Nothing. But speaking about Donald Trump, now we have the media trying to spin Donald Trump's words to say that he wants to terminate the Constitution. Now, I point to the hypocrisy of this is that they have been screaming for the abolishment of the Constitution for the last decade. And now Trump didn't say anything about
Yeah,
false
I
improvement.
saw some of the stuff that he said, and they definitely, I don't know really how I felt about some of that stuff, but he definitely wasn't saying everything that they're trying to make it out to be.
But essentially, what he said is you may as well throw the Constitution out if you're going to just make up your own rules on the fly. The founders would not have wanted this. That's basically what he said. He's like, if you're not going to follow the Constitution, why do you keep bringing it up? Like you guys have basically spit on the Constitution. And now the Democrats and the media are like, Trump wants to abolish the Constitution. You guys have been saying that we need to abolish the Constitution for the last several
Yeah,
years,
and
talking
they're
about
all
it's
of
a
a sudden
living
claiming
document
that
and
it,
we need to remove it.
really another way of trolling them because they, most of them, they don't even pretend to like the Constitution anymore. So you should be glad that he's saying this.
But the sad thing
They
is
don't like the
that
Constitution as it is. So why wouldn't they be happy to see it go?
the sad thing is that this type of propaganda works on their viewer base. I mean, their viewer base are zombified anyway. They don't have brains, half of them, and the other half of them have brains and refuse to use them. So it's almost Trump has to gear up for a very very tough battle because I don't see a way that Biden can get reelected fairly. But the media and the Democrat Party and the government insiders are going to do everything in their power to try to stop this man. This is the reason why they're doing this special counsel. This is the reason why they raided Mar-a-Lago. They're fishing to try to try to disqualify him from ever holding office again, and for two, they're trying to create another boogeyman out of Donald Trump when you you can't find anything. I mean, I can't point to anything that Donald Trump has done or said that's so horrendous that it could cause a legitimate reaction in the way that the Democrats are trying to. But I mean, they're making Donald Trump to be the second coming of Satan, and I
So
just don't see really anybody on the Democrat Party that could actually win. But I'm fearful that it doesn't matter because Republicans refuse to play the game of politics appropriately. The rules have changed, and Republicans refuse to play by the new rules. And not only that, but they're actively fighting their only chances of winning. And so it's going to be tough, especially because the rules keep getting changed. I can't remember what state it was. Probably California. I think it might have been Oregon. They're actually trying to push a bill through right now that would lower the voting age to 16, and they're trying to do that all across the country to expand voting rights to people who aren't even out of high school yet. They're the Democrats are trying to set up election systems where they can never lose again because they have indoctrinated people at such a young age. So Republicans, unless they start playing the game appropriately, they're starting off at a disadvantage. It's never going to be an equal playing field. And I don't see how they're going to come back to terms with this, um, and unless something happens with leadership in the Republican Party. And I don't see Mitch McConnell being voted out. I don't see McCarthy being voted out.
mm, yeah, there's just not enough people to unseat him. There's so many people who are so willing to just fall in line that it doesn't matter if we have the Freedom Caucus because that's what, maybe 30 or 40. It's not enough. Maybe 50, but it's not enough to eventually they're going to have to capitulate because they're not going to vote for Hakeem Jeffries. So they're just going to have to vote for whoever the Republican is, Kevin McCarthy. They're not, there's some of them that want somebody else, but when it comes down to it, they'd rather have McCarthy instead of the Democrat.
And that's what it comes down to. Unfortunately,
Hakeem.
Republicans, they just suck. They suck so
Yeah, they
bad.
do. They do. They, I, they just feign this opposition to the Democrats. It's like they are controlled opposition.
They are. Uh, Essentially, the reason why Herschel Walker lost, in my opinion, is because Lindsey Graham has been coattailing them. Lindsey Graham comes out here and says he wants to get rid of all abortion across the union, ban it all. After we just had the entire thing about making it states' choice, and he comes up there and says that 6 weeks before an election. Mitch McConnell won't send any money there, won't send any money to Arizona, but he's willing to send money to Alaska to stop a
Yeah, in
Republican
a
from
race
beating
with two
a Republican.
Republicans. It's
Doesn't make any
ridiculous.
sense. He wants to divert the funds
You don't need to
everywhere
put
else.
money there because whoever wins the race is going to be on your side. But
Yeah,
they hate. They don't want anybody. They of course they love Murkowski. They love her. They always have. I mean, she came back and won a write-in vote one year a while back. I don't know how the hell she did it, but she won a write-in campaign because she lost the primary to somebody. I don't know who it was, but I remember that happening very clearly.
yeah. And so the swamp of the Republican Party, the rhinos, which I would just say that's just they're basically they're just Democrats. They're working for the other side. They're actively trying to sabotage their own chances of winning. And we've seen this act of sabotage throughout this entire election season. Every time the Republicans were able to get some momentum, they came out and did something stupid that they had no business doing.
I use the bathroom real quick.
Go ahead. And so I'm sitting here and I'm wondering, what are our chances of being able to garner victory and bring this country back to where it needs to be? Number one, we cannot discuss the issues of gay marriage or abortion. Those are dead topics. We'll always lose on those topics. Those are done. We can't talk about those anymore. Because if you talk about gay marriage, they're going to say that you're a racist, that you want to come after interracial marriage, that you want to uh, be for segregation, that you want to stop black people from being able to purchase things in the store, that gay people will lose all their rights at to go to the store, blah blah blah. So we can't talk about that issue. I don't know how much of
I
that
don't.
you've
I
heard.
never really thought those were winning topics for Republicans anyway, because most Republicans I would say are not necessarily socially conservative either.
And I and so uh Jay quit the show, which I don't care, but Jay quit the show because I told him, fuck, gay people have every right to get married as everybody else. It's not a religious institution. As much as you may disagree with it, as much as I disagree with it, it's a it's a legal thing. It has nothing to do with religion.
That issue I've never really cared about.
You know,
I
it's
I
not.
just don't think it's something that's worth fighting over. If you don't want gay marriage to be a thing, then don't get gay married. But you can't. Somebody else
Yeah,
that has nothing to do with you.
exactly. Now, here's where it's different. This is where these are two different things. Allowing gay marriage and forcing a church to host a gay marriage are two complete
Oh,
different issues. And so
obviously,
they
yeah.
so every time that you bring up this issue, they try to conflate the two. It's like, oh well, do you want them to be in the church? Like, the church is not who recognizes your marriage in this country. It's the court. It's the government. The celebration, the honor, the honorary stuff, that's all on you. You can do that at a
Yeah.
court. You can do that at the beach. You can do that anywhere else. You don't have to go to a church to get married. You can go to a church and get married, and if Uncle Sam isn't there, your marriage is not going to matter. It's not going to count. When you go file your taxes, you're still going to have to file it single because you're not married if Uncle Sam's not there with that marriage certificate.
Yeah, as ridiculous as it sounds, that's the way it is.
I mean, and to try to say that marriage is so was because of the Bible, blah blah blah. Marriage existed before the Bible. It existed before the inception of religion. It's been around for a long, long time. And if truth be told, the reason why not Peter, Paul writes what he writes about marriage in his letters is because if you remember the particular area of Rome where he was at, that was the area that was once the city of Etrusca. You remember how lavacious and and depraved Etrusca was. I mean, the closest thing you can compare them to is bonobos. Bonobos are species of great ape that if they to say hello, they masturbate. If they're
I'm not
happy,
sure where you're I'm not sure where you're going with
what I'm
this.
saying is that the Etruscan people, their answer to everything was just be out, just
Well, you
have
can think of a
sex.
lot of other, places that the city of Corinth was definitely like that. And
Yeah,
that's because mostly there was a temple to Aphrodite, a well-known one in Corinth. You can think of lots of other civilizations. Somewhere like
ex-
Las Vegas. It's just
exactly.
that's what it is.
That's just what it was. So they had laws. So Peter had not Peter. Paul had the right to the laws of the state, and that also influences religious texts. But if you're going to be a an actual Christian, regardless of whether you agree with gay marriage or not, you cannot deny somebody that right. That would be probably the most unchristian thing of you to do. You can preach to them, and be like it's a abomination to the eyes, Lord. That's fine, but to try to completely deny somebody that right when Christ would not deny somebody that right. He gave them free will to do whatever they want. Now, whatever happens afterwards when they go meet the Maker, that's between them and the Lord. That has nothing to do with you.
Yeah. Well, that's one issue. I never honestly, even when I was like the most conservative, I was never really super socially conservative. Even like as a teenage preacher, I was never really because to me it always seemed like those kinds of issues are personal, and the law should not have any kind of honestly. I feel like any kind of morality legislating, so to speak. I know it's not that simple, but I kind of feel like it's a personal responsibility issue and not something that the government can really should be even really regulating because um, I'm not sure where I'm taking this because certain things, the government is not the arbiter of right and wrong in certain instances. The only time it should be, in my opinion, is when you wrong somebody else.
You know, I'm my opinion has always been I have no opinion on on gay matters. I I don't care one way or the other. They could abolish gay rights tomorrow. I wouldn't care. They could give gay people more rights tomorrow. I wouldn't care. Now, if they give gay people superior rights to everybody else, then that becomes a problem, which is kind of where they want to go in many cases. But this isn't one of those cases. Another thing that I've always said was I feel the government's role when it comes to marriage for gay people should be to firstly loosen up all these insurance laws that would because the main reason why gay marriage is such an issue is because of the insurance laws that the government has in place. a couple that's been together for 60 years, if their significant other dies under the current life insurance policies and laws, if their significant other dies in some states, that isn't recognized as cohabitation, and you would not be entitled to receive any of that insurance money. It would have to go to their next of kin. And since you are not blood, you're not their next of kin. Even if they left it to you in the will, it would still have to go to the next of kin before it went to you.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I feel like you
So,
should be able to pick whoever you want.
I think those laws need to be changed. I think the laws about who gets what in life insurance needs to be completely removed entirely. And I've been selling life insurance for a while. I got well over here, and actually I got them both right here. Actually, both of my life insurance manuals sitting right here next to me. I was going to do a video on it sometime, uh, but uh, but that's sort of what I feel about that. Um, and so, gay marriage was an institution that was a problem because they were trying to get around those laws for the insurances. So I feel, okay, gay people, they can get married, blah blah blah, but get rid of those laws, because those laws are also stopping, say for example, a person like me, if I die and I want to leave all of my money and belongings to some random orphan kid that's in an orphanage, and I just like, well, when I die, just give it to some random kid and give them a good life. I will be forbidden from being able to do that, even though it's my money.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So that's where the big issue comes from. Uncle Sam being involved too much. But
Yeah.
as far
Well,
as,
when it comes to the issue of abortion, it's quite a bit different issue though,
yeah,
because
when
you
it
are
comes to the
dealing with a
issue of
life.
abortion, when it comes to the issue of abortion, I find abortion to be antithetical to the Constitution, particularly the preamble to the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, where one of our key points is the preservation of life. And the Declaration of Independence says that we have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The preamble to the Constitution says that we are supposed to promote for the general welfare and to protect. Well, how can you do that if you legalize killing a child? You're stripping them of the right that is enshrined within our Declaration and within the preambles to our Constitution. So to
Yeah, that
me,
seems pretty clear to me that it's really kind of incompatible with our
yeah. So to
ideals.
me, that's where the issue comes. It's not so much a religious issue for me as it's just it doesn't fit with the nature of our Constitution. If we have a right to life
Yeah.
and then you kill,
Abortion has never really been a religious issue, in my opinion. I mean, people make it that way, but it's really a fundamental, like, human decency issue. It's not about what your religious beliefs are. It's about that's another human being, so we should have to protect it just like anybody else.
yeah, now you can say things like, well, oh, we're overpopulated and blah blah blah, but the fact of the matter is you have protection laws for animal species, and that sure we may have hunted them to the verge of extinction, but you have animal protection laws. You can't kill uh you can't kill a fawn. You can't kill a doe at certain times of the
You
year.
can't crack a bald eagle egg
Yeah,
or a sea turtle.
you and some of these species are invasive species, and you can't kill them. Oh, you go out there, for example, in California, on the Pacific coast. You can't drag nets across the ground of the water. Now, this is an issue because it causes some coral damage or some kelp damage, but being able to do that would take care of the sea urchin problem, because we kind of caused that problem when we were hunting otters, and the otters aren't there to combat the urchins because otters love urchins for some reason. But those urchins, they eat all the kelp, they eat all the coral, they destroy the habitat. But human beings can't go in there and correct that mistake because the laws say that we can't kill the urchins. So you have these protection laws in place for all these species of animals. You go to the Atlantic where lionfish and other scorpion fish have been introduced as invasive species and have been taken over, and you can't kill any of them. Uh, I remember years ago here on the Gulfport beach, we had a massive jellyfish problem, man of war, and you couldn't kill any of those. Now this is a man-made beach, and you want people to go out there. Well, now I wouldn't want people to go out there,
Aren't the
but you
man
want
of
people to
war
go out
ones
there.
that the ones that can kill you?
No, those are box jellies. Man of war, they hurt like hell, but there aren't any reported deaths that from what I know.
They're the super long ones, right?
The super long ones are lion's mane jellyfish. Box jellies are mostly native to Australia. They get to be around 10 feet long with their tentacle length. Lion's mane jellyfish, they're very very big around, and their tentacles can be up to 250 feet long.
That's crazy.
But lion's mane jellyfish, they're not the most deadly. That would be the box jelly.
Hmm.
Box jelly would kill you in 2 minutes. Lion's mane
I'm probably
jelly,
thinking of the lion's mane jelly because it looks like it has some sort of big shell thing at the
yeah,
top.
it has the big plume, and then right beneath it has another plume that has all the tentacles coming out of it.
What are those little tiny ones? It just looks like
Those are
a jelly with tentacles, like short ones.
man of war and Portuguese man of war. And
Oh,
there's
so
other
that's
ones too.
when you think of a regular jellyfish, that's a man of war.
Um, no, we think of a regular jellyfish. I mean, they're all regular jellyfish, but men of war,
Yeah,
they're typically smaller than the normal jellyfish that we
like they're
think
like
of.
that long, maybe.
No, they're usually about like this.
Yeah, a little thing with some like small tentacles coming off.
Yeah, very small tentacles, kind of like an oversized amoeba, pretty much.
That's what I'm thinking of. That's the little small one, the ones
Yeah,
that we have here.
yeah.
Yeah.
But these have problems now. Men of war, their toxins aren't going to kill you, but they can cause muscle spasms, lock you up, and if we don't have the ability to kill them, and let's say we had a nice beach that was treated and we can actually go out there and swim, and we had this problem, somebody could drown because their muscles would tense up from touching one
How
of
do
these
you
men of
kill
war.
it? How do you kill one? Just stab it? Like, what do you do?
Pretty much. They have a brain, though it's not very big, but it's in the center of the thing. If you can pierce a jellyfish's jelly membrane without actually touching the stingers, you can kill them because like they're basically just a giant nucleus. So if you can
Yeah,
just
it's crazy. Those things, like, it's crazy that those are animals.
some jellyfish uh, are immortal. There are species of jellyfish that are recorded to be over 6,000 years old and are still alive.
That's a problem. Well, it
Now,
doesn't seem like they really need much to survive. They just float around like they're barely anything.
they don't
Just
need
like a
much
little
to
membrane.
survive.
They are like a cell,
They
like an
pretty
overgrown
much
amoeba.
They pretty much are, and but I love sea life. They're so weird and unique. I love jellyfish, but and to think, we don't have many sea turtles here. Sea turtles are one of the natural predators of all species of jellyfish, and we don't have many of those here to eat them. We don't have many predators of the clams here that cause the red tide problem that we have here. So we can't kill those things. They're protected species. You're causing damage to other things, but you can't protect the species of human being life, but you can protect all these other life species that have done some actual damage to ecosystems. For example, again, in certain areas, the Africanized honeybee is a protected species, even though it's an invasive species here. And we can't kill it because, like, oh, it's going to mess with the pollinary system, even though they're killing the actual native honeybee and all that other stuff. But they're protected species, even though they cause so much problems to the environment. But human life is just a clump of cells until until all this stuff. And my argument has always been, if it's just a clump of cells to you, why don't you just kill yourself? And I know that's harsh for people to say, but if you believe that human life that it's just a clump of cells that has no life, and you believe in abortion so greatly that it's such a benefit, why don't you abort yourself?
Well, it's because a lot of them just have a contradictory belief. They really don't view life like that. They're just telling themselves that so that they can get away with having these views.
And and it's really became a big issue to me. The reason why I dislike abortion so much is because it's used as retroactive birth control. We have
Yeah,
over
here it is.
we have
Even
over
places in Europe
50
don't view it that way.
we have over 50 confirmed methods of birth control. And I think 12 of those, maybe more, are practically 100% guaranteed for you not to get pregnant.
Yeah,
But
well, there's plenty of them. That's,
it, and the
it's a
fact of the
deeper issue
matter
than
that
that.
nobody wants to use contraceptives. They're just around here passing all types of diseases. I mean, the statistics, for example, genital herpes and genital warts. I believe the statistics are that 70% of the country has herpes or genital warts. No, no, I'm sorry. 50,
70%. What?
50% of the country has some form of herpes. 70% of people who have herpes don't know that they have herpes because they never had an outbreak. Now that's bad. And then you take a place like in California, where it used to be against the law to knowingly give somebody HIV. You used to be able to serve 6 months in prison. That's no longer the case. You can now give somebody HIV and not care about it in California. And the fact that you have all these people that are out there talking about sexual liberation, blah blah blah, and there's no talk about safe sex ever anymore. And these diseases are just spreading around, and you got people with the monkeypox, syphilis, hepatitis C,
Monkeypox.
D. You know,
Monkeypox.
these are
Monkey, monkey,
these are
monkeypox,
massive
monkeypox, pox.
problems. And when you look at the numbers of the abortions that have been performed since the inception of Planned Parenthood, I think it's over 60 million. That is 1.8 million children killed every year for 42 years straight.
Yep, that's why they call it the silent Holocaust.
I mean, that's you look at those numbers. For example, the black community, there's 25% of the black community that doesn't even get a chance to be born. That's how prevalent
That's
abortions are.
crazy, man. That's
And then when you
insane.
compare that with the black murder rate, and you see why our population is actually dwindling.
Imagine like who among the people that have been aborted, how many, you know, future
Albert
leaders,
Einstein's,
how many of them have we just butchered?
yeah.
Probably a lot.
And then think about this. We have some recent statistics that show that if the crime rates in America continue to go to what they are right now, by 2050, if nothing changes with our crime rates, one in every 100 people will have been murdered. And then
What?
compare that with the abortion rates and everything else that's happening. And this is just talking about murder rates. One in every 100 people, according to the recent statistic that I saw uh, on the Faulkner Focus about a month and a half ago. These are scary things, and you're talking about life as if it means nothing. That's why abortion is such a big issue. But it's not an issue that we can afford to die on if we want to preserve this country. It's a battle that we fought and we lost it already. It's time to move on to the next big thing.
Yeah, well, it's certainly it's not a seller on the national stage. It's not something to run on the national level. Unfortunately, this is just the way politics works. And if you want to win, you have to make some concessions. If you live in the
And
real
see
world,
that's the problem with people like Jay and these other zealots, and I don't want to call them loyalists, but these other people who are radicals, in my opinion, they they won't concede on anything. They won't make any type of
yeah,
concessions to get anywhere. And if you don't have it their way, then you may as
yeah,
well let the country burn.
we can't have those people. Those people will drag the cause down. And ultimately, even though for the most part we might be on the same side, or at least we agree on a lot of issues, I don't want to say we're on the same side because I'm definitely not with any radicals on either side. But I care about winning, and you have to live in the real world to win.
Exactly. You know, I care about many of the same issues that people like Jay cares about. I mean, Jay is a buddy of mine. He's a good friend. I believe in a lot of the same things. I'm a devout Christian, but I never allow my Christianity to get in the way of an opportunity to do good in politics. Christianity, religion in general, doesn't have to be separate from politics, but you have to know how to weave it into politics effectively to make it work. You can't you can't be a politician preaching from the pulpit. Nobody, especially not if you're on the Republican side, you might be able to get away with it on the Democrat side, Raphael Warnock, for example.
Yeah. Well,
But
there's a
no,
lot of
on the
them.
Republican side, it's not going to work because people are going to think that you are lecturing them, that you're scolding them,
Right.
that you're berating them for the depravity, and you're not going to be able to get people to vote for you if you make them feel bad. Because again, politics is about is a cause and reaction. It's about creating a reaction. No, put it this way: it's about creating a cause that creates an emotion, an emotive reaction to an extreme level that motivates somebody to vote. That's all
Yeah, that's because
politics
that's what
is.
human beings are like. You have to touch their heart. You have to, so to speak, you're working with, of course, politics is a game of, it's a game of numbers, but it's also a game of emotion. In order to drive the numbers, you have to drive the emotion. And you also can't be too off putting to too large a number of people. And so you have to compromise and capitulate. This is one reason why a lot of the radical Republicans back during the Civil War, they didn't like Lincoln because he was too willing to compromise. But if he wasn't, he never would have gotten any of what he got done. Even though
Yeah,
he understood what kind of issue, slavery is a great moral evil. But if you proceed like the radical Republicans, you get nowhere.
yeah, exactly. And this is the same thing with the founders. You know, they all debated for generations about the place for slavery in the United States, and they could never come to a consensus on it because they couldn't agree on how to end it appropriately and it not cause significant damage or division between the races or the classes, since it
Yeah.
wasn't just one race that was enslaved but different classes of people.
Yeah. And this is why ultimately they had to push it off a few generations. But they ultimately knew that it could not last with the system, but they couldn't do anything about it in their time. And that's debatable, maybe. But I think ultimately they'd had to make the choice that they made because we wouldn't have a country otherwise. And
Yeah,
Lincoln, of course, was the perfect person to come along at the right time to manage to hold it all together.
yeah, and I think eventually what the founders did with most of them, if not all of them, releasing or granting freedom to the majority of their slaves before their time of death, it it kind of propelled it into that direction as well, because more and more of the politicians who grew up believing in the founders, which I love the time period that I'm in right now. But could you imagine growing up with the literal creators of your country there, like what Lincoln and Andrew Jackson were able to see? These people who were literally the founders of your nation. You're growing up watching them, and the impact that it would have had to see these men willingly release. and grant freedom to their slaves.
Yeah, well, maybe we, who knows? We would have seen it back then. I think that George Washington was the only one who did a freeing like all of them.
I,
But yeah,
I feel
yeah,
like
it
if
would
we
have
were back
been.
there back then, you probably would have been in a duel with Aaron Barr.
He's one of those people that I would like to meet.
You want to
I
get
was
some
thinking of
dinner.
like a list of like 10. I was doing this. I haven't posted any. I didn't post anything about it yet because I was trying to figure out like if I could pick 10 dinner guests, dead or alive, from any phase of history. Aaron Burr would be. He's on the list. Um, but I also had people like Fyodor Dostoevsky. I think I had Plato on the list. I mean, there was a bunch of people I had on that
I
list,
would
but
love to
Aaron Burr
meet
was one of
Plato
them.
and Aristotle because Plato. There's really only one reason why I want to meet Plato. I want to talk to him about where the hell Atlantis is located.
Yeah. Well, I was debating between him or Solon, which was his ancestor who learned about Atlantis from the Egyptians that he wrote about in the Republic. But I ultimately put Plato on there.
I would also like to. I would also like to meet Saint Peter actually as well. And I don't
Okay, here we go.
I don't know whether he's real or not, but if he is, I definitely want to meet the fabled Gilgamesh.
Yeah, I think he is based on a real person. I think Nimrod is him, same guy. Anyway, Marcus Aurelius is also on this list. Carl Jung, and I only got to number 7, but Solomon and Enoch, and I got 3 more to go.
Oh, you know, I know this is very recent, but I would love to just be a fly on the wall in one of Milton Friedman's economics classes. I think it would be very
Yeah.
enjoyable. I would love to.
We have so much material that he left behind that we can just watch him.
I would love to. I would love to go back. And one of the top people on my list is Frederick Douglass. I love Frederick Douglass. I would love to go back and meet Frederick Douglass. See the reasons more than what we've actually written and have from his autobiographies. See what more was the reason why he refused to be the first black vice president because they basically forced it on him. They tried to make him the vice president of Abraham Lincoln, and he's like, "No, I don't want it, man."
Yeah, those are the kind of people that you want to be in power, though.
Those really
I
are
feel like
like,
Frederick Douglass would have made a great leader, like political leader. Even though he was a leader, you know, uh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe what he chose to do is how he was best effective.
if he had chose to be a political leader, I feel as though he would have been probably the closest thing we had to the second coming of George Washington, given that he was so willing to refuse power, and George Washington was so willing to lay down power. I think that
I don't
Frederick
know.
Douglass probably
It's
would
hard
have
to know
been
really how things would have turned out because for all we know, he could have been. He could. I don't think he would have been very effective in the era that he was in, being a political leader. I think he was better
the
as
race
an author.
the race stuff would have been in the way, but
That's
I
what I'm
mean
saying.
I mean he would have had a lot because I think that short of Thomas Sowell and Carl Jung, um, I think that Frederick Douglass was the greatest contemporary American philosopher that we had, and
Carl Jung
it took
wasn't American. Carl Jung was uh, Swiss.
and
Um,
it took Frederick Douglass years to even learn how to read. At that,
Thinking of really American philosophers, and not a lot of them come to mind. Most of the philosophers that I think of are European, or there's not that many American.
most of the American philosophers are more recent, such as Thomas Sowell,
Or
Walter Williams.
they're not necessarily mainly thought of as philosophers, but like they're philosophers in accordance with also being an economist or a psychologist or something
Exactly.
else.
And then Then the other people we think of as philosophers, like Booker T. Washington or W.B. Du Bois, most of them weren't really philosophers. They were more inventors that got kind of stuck in the philosopher's realm because they invented things.
Yeah.
Philosophers and inventors tend to go hand in hand. Like Leonardo da Vinci is more known for his inventions, but people call him a philosopher all the time, which he
Yeah, an
was, but
artist, a
he
great
was
artist.
more renowned for his
Like
inventions.
that's Renaissance men. Most American
Oh,
philosophers are Renaissance men in a way. They do more than just that.
Jefferson could have been a probably would have been a
Yeah,
pretty nice philosopher.
definitely. I actually think
Benjamin
John
Franklin,
Adams was too.
John Adams, yes, I'd like to meet him. Ben Franklin, I
He
would
was
love to meet
more of a
him.
realist.
Ben Franklin is probably the Republicans need to go back and meet Ben Franklin because he is the art of politics. Ben
Yeah.
Franklin was the ultimate
He
diplomat.
was the first he was the first American, like the first American celebrity that was known worldwide even before the revolution. He was like the
Yes,
blueprint.
I
He was
think I
literally the
think that
first American celebrity.
if the Republican Party needs to take some time, do some homework, study on what made Ben Franklin so great, and then do it.
We could
If
say
they
that
can
about a
follow
lot
his
of
blueprint,
he was what he at the end of his life he was willing to put it all on the line for the cause of abolitionists. Um, and of course, something that he wrote to the Congress that Madison and a lot of the other ones they had to put it under the rug because they basically pushed off the issue of slavery until like 1804 or something. No discussion of removal of the slave trade, which is that's when it finally was discontinued, I believe, during Jefferson's presidency or at the beginning of it, or maybe it was 1808, but that was still Jefferson's presidency. But Franklin wrote, he was the head of an abolitionist society, the abolitionist society in Philadelphia, I believe.
yes,
And he wrote this petition to Congress to, have it discontinued right away. And,
he wrote over
but
and
he was
over
old
again.
by that point. He was really old.
And the thing about it is, he was able to do that without doing it the way that the Quakers would have. The
Yeah,
Quakers really kind of ruined the abolitionist movement in many ways.
they did. They did. I'm
And,
talking
and
about the same kind of issue because the Quakers petition came before Congress on the same day that Benjamin Franklin's did.
mhm.
And the
and
Quakers, they were like the radical Republicans.
exactly. I was about to say that the Quakers are pretty much what Jay is to you and I talking about gay issues in in um in politics,
Kind of.
where we might have similar opinions, but for the sake of the union, we have to do what's right. And Ben Franklin was effective at being able to target abolition without falling into Quaker sensibilities.
Quaker sensibilities. Yes.
I love that on John Adams the HBO special. I loved it when John Adams is arguing with Mr.
Yeah.
Dickinson. He's
That's
like,
what I was thinking
Mr.
of.
Dickinson, this is no time for your Quaker sensibilities, sir.
Yeah, but you have to respect Mr. Dickinson's at least attempt at peace. But once it came down to it, he was on the
Oh
side
yeah.
of the
Di-
rebels.
Not only was he on the side of the rebels, he was the first in battle. Dickinson rode
So
down on the.
yeah, you got to
He's
respect
like
that.
he's like, you know what? I tried. My
If
way
this is the way it's going
didn't
to
work.
be, then
So you know what? Suit me up. I'm going to war.
yeah,
And in those men, the founders, you know, just every time we talk about them, it kind of gives you a spark of hope for our nation as it is right now today. But at the same time, it gives you a sense of dread because I don't see the same courage in this generation as with those guys. Because the founders, they went up against
yeah,
unsurmountable
but you have to
odds. The most
understand.
powerful
It's easier
nation
for
on
us
the
to
face of
say
the
that
world at the
because
time.
The reason why we know who they are is because they were the ones from that generation who were courageous. We don't know about the ones who weren't.
That's
And
true.
history is written in such a way that we remember the people who were significant. But everybody in that generation was not standing up. It was just a few. So let that
That's true.
edify you a bit.
That's true. That's very true. And you know what? We may yet find some men and women like that among us today. It's just going to take some time. As much as we have left to spare, because so honestly, in my opinion, we don't have too much time left to spare. But it's going to take some time. It's going to take some motivation to find some people that are willing to drum up the courage to do so. I mean, how far along are we now on the Convention of States? What are we at now?
Um, I don't know. I think more
We're
than
more
half
than
the way
half of
there.
the way.
I
Don't we
think
need like
I
18
think
more?
it's only like no, it's less than that. Uh, I don't know for sure. It's like somewhere around 15, I think, 14 or 15.
You know,
If it
if we
passes in all the states that it's before right now, then it'll be enough. If all the states that are reviewing it pass it, well, it won't even take all of them actually. But it's
if
before
we
enough legislatures
if we
now
can
that
get the
it could
courage,
go
because
through.
for example, we saw a real test of courage, but that faded very rapidly in Arizona. They were not going to certify, but when Katie Hobbs, who's over the committee as Secretary of State, certifying her own election, threatened legal action and to fire all of those people, they caved in and certified the election anyway, even though they wanted to,
Let's see.
you know, do a recount, have a re-election because of the mistakes with the ballot and the machine not counting people's votes. Some people not being able to vote because their stuff was disqualified. It didn't count because 25% of the votes that were cast in the beginning weren't counted. People, the Arizona issue. The
Need
more and more
15
I,
more.
15 more. The more and more I
Yes,
think about the
and it's
Arizona
already
issue,
passed and it's almost there anyway.
the more and more I think about the Arizona issue, the more and more I think, I don't want to say it's rigged because we're on YouTube, but the more and more I think about the problems uh, that is facing us. Because how in the hell do you have an election? And one of the reasons why you close down polling stations in heavily Republican areas, mind you, is because you ran out of pins. It just doesn't make sense to
Well,
me.
people, what were they doing? They taking them home with them or something? Ran out of
Like if
pins.
like
They were just
if
walking out
you
of the
have,
polling booth with the pen.
like, I would assume that the pin would be, if you're going in and you're going into a voting kiosk, I would assume the pin would be connected to a chain, like at the bank.
Usually it is. I mean, I don't think it is all the time here, but I just leave the pen there. I don't ever bring it with me.
Let's think about what they did last election. Okay, 2 years ago, the same issues. What happened? They were giving Republican areas Sharpie markers, and they couldn't be counted because the scantrons couldn't be scanned because they were bleeding through. These types of issues make it difficult to
Where was that?
trust.
Was that here?
That was in Arizona, Maricopa County.
Oh, dude, you can't use no freaking
They were
Sharpie
they
marker
were
on
giving
that.
them Sharpie markers, permanent marker to fill in the scantrons, and then we're supposed
That's
to trust
ridiculous.
that everything was legitimate over there.
Well,
And
I don't know if anybody really fully trusts their, Arizona has protection system in the country.
definitely right now, uh, and we're supposed to just fall in line with all of these things and believe that there's nothing that's going on when you have literally the sitting Secretary of State overseeing her own election, which the law doesn't say she has to step down, but most people would do so out of integrity.
Which is ridiculous. It's like, yeah, I mean, if that's your job, oversee elections, that's literally your job. It should not be legal for you to not step down from that position if you are running for a statewide election. You should have to vacate that job. It doesn't make any sense that that's not the case. I guess
Yeah,
it's probably never happened before, but that can't be the case.
and then the
It
connections
certainly
between
has.
the Democrats, Katie Hobbs, and Twitter, and all of that stuff, and we're supposed to believe that there's nothing happening, and if we say anything, we're going to get in all types of trouble on YouTube, all over the internet,
Dude, I'm
because
at the point where so much conspiracy has been confirmed. I'm at the point where I'll pretty much think that there's relevance to any conspiracy that even has a shred of evidence. I believe it. I don't really fully believe it, but I'm just like I could definitely see that being the case because
I
everything we
mean we
suspected
we
them doing, they're doing it and
we've been
worse.
proven right so much. We've been proven right so much.
Unfortunately,
It's
I
it's
said
it's
this back
only
in
a it's
2016. I'm
go
during
ahead.
the 2016 election. I'm posting this specifically. They call us conspiracy theorists now, but eventually we will be proven to be right. Back in 2016, I said that, not really knowing if it was going to be true or not, but hoping. Well, not really hoping, but I was making that statement, basically putting it out there. Right now, you think we're conspiracy theorists, but when it's all said and done and everything comes out, you'll see that we've been vindicated, and that statement has turned out to be more than true.
I mean, at this point, it's only a matter of time before the government releases a live specimen of Sasquatch. We know
Yeah,
they've got one.
honestly, I believe that that could really happen because tomorrow they could come out and say that we've actually had our first
We've had we've
contact with
we've
alien
had it
life
all
forms and
along.
stuff, and I believe it.
We've had
Yeah,
Sasquatch all along. Ever since Roger Patterson took that film in 1967, we've had it all along.
yeah, it was a real Bigfoot.
You know, and
Bigfoot is a specific one, right?
no, that's just a generic name. But have you heard about the stories about what happened at the Mount St. Helena eruptions in the 70s? Or was it the 80s?
I'm not
When
sure.
when Mount St.
I don't
Helena
know.
erupted, they had to send the military out to clean up there, try to get all of the bodies and stuff. And while they were trying to protect the wildlife, they were finding deer that were half burned and stuff like that. And they found, I believe it was three separate Sasquatches that were burned, had burn marks all over their bodies. And the Marines, they found them. They anonymous Marines come out and said that government showed up in black vehicles and black clothes and black gear, and they took these animals, and these animals were never seen again. And ever since that day, if you go to Washington State on the wildlife protected species list, you will see Sasquatch as a protected species on the Washington State list of protected species. And there's lots of stories like that across the country from where military people have had encounters with these creatures. And it makes it more believable when it's military related, such as the incidents with uh the UAPs. Is that the term is now?
Oh, the
Unexplained aerial
Kandahar giant
phenomenon.
in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
or
Well,
or
yeah, the Kandahar giant in Afghanistan, that 12-foot guy who killed a soldier, killed a Green Beret,
yeah,
or
and
was
then
it a SEAL? Or
there was
one of those people
the
got killed
war
by
in
a giant steer.
Vietnam, the fight on Monkey Mountain, the war in Vietnam. Apparently, they fought all night with rock apes on top of Monkey Mountain
Rock
in
apes.
Vietnam.
Did you
Yeah, the
also hear
rock
about
ape.
the ghosts out in Afghanistan? The ghost base
Yeah,
where they were supposedly this was a base that was once held by the Mujahideen, then by the Russians, and now by the Americans. Well, this was during the war in Afghanistan. And at night they would hear, like, they would see ghosts and like this whole reenactment of battles between the Russians and the Mujahideen. They would be seeing all this ghostly, and they'd hear all the gunfire and stuff, but there was no one there.
yeah, and then remember they called us conspiracy theorists for saying that 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 the Taliban, that these guys were out there raping goats and we got them on video.
Oh my God. Well, that's believable as hell, though. That's really
Did you
believable.
have you actually seen the video?
No, I'm not going to go, but I'm just saying, I don't need to see it. I
Well,
believe it already.
it's look, it's a video. It's you know how you have the thermal imagers that show the heat signatures and stuff.
Yes.
So they're like I guess you would probably say they're probably like 200 yards away or whatever. So they got the thermal imager on, and you can see these two terrorists, and there's this poor goat that's sitting there, and they're just humping the shuck out this goat, and the guy pushes him off, and the guy pushes him off. It's like, hey, let me have a turn, and then this guy starts humping the goat. I'm like, what the
That's
fuck?
crazy, dude. That, man.
It's
God.
so bad over there. They gotta hump goats to get off.
No, they don't have to. They
I guess it's easier to do that than it is to, you know, to do it to a woman in a hot job. Goats don't fight back
think,
nearly as hard, I suppose.
I
But
would think they would definitely fight back harder.
I, when animals are in heat, they tend not to. But with all of the stuff that's been going on in our election cycles and all of the stuff, and now and especially as it relates to Donald Trump, I don't know what to expect of it because I don't see any lawsuits coming from anything. And if there are any lawsuits coming, I don't see anybody getting convicted of anything. And we've been proven 100% correct about the Biden crime family, but nothing's going to come of that. I honestly don't think it's going to go anywhere.
It probably won't. I hate to be so black pilled about it, but nothing ever comes of this stuff. People don't,
And you know
there's
what?
no justice in the world of politics. It's very, very rare.
And you know what? I'm of the opinion that probably sooner than later, maybe I shouldn't say this on YouTube, but I'm of the opinion that the conspiracy theory that some of the guys have been pushing, that the Democrat Party are behind a lot of these mass shootings. I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out to be true at this point.
I wouldn't either. Or I honestly do think that I don't know, dude. It's so hard to
Because
say, but
every
it,
single time an election season happens, here comes a shooting. It's always there every single time.
I'm not going to go out and say that they're doing it, but the intelligence agencies definitely they have a hand in this somehow.
Well,
I
we
could say
know they
that.
have a hand in it somehow because of the shooting in Buffalo and the shooting in
And the
Uvalde.
Uvalde,
They-
yes,
They're in the
the agent
Discord.
who was in the Discord server with him. Yep,
Yeah, so
that's
we know
crazy.
that there's
And
some
how did he afford all this
connection.
stuff?
We know that there's some
It,
connection, but
that's the problem.
obviously
Like
we
when
can't
you
say
start
anymore.
thinking, when all this stuff starts coming out and getting confirmed, you're just like, it makes you go crazy in a way because you think, really, wow, these people really are like everything we think they're involved in. they're involved in times 10.
You know, it used to think like some of those old TV shows and stuff that used to come on to be like the government's involved in this, or like I don't know. What was I watching? I think I was watching. I don't know. I think I was watching Transformers or something, and it was like the government was involved, and I don't know, some type of thing where they're able to scan all of this stuff. And like, well, yeah, I would believe it now. The government just appears to be constantly. They've been given way too much power. The intelligence communities should be disbanded completely. They've essentially taken over the world and taken away everybody's freedoms. You know, I hell, they can probably see us through our televisions for all we know.
Oh yeah, obviously. No, I mean not
And
television, but
and
our
you
cameras.
know, a lot of
Oh,
people had reservations about taking the vaccine, not because of the vaccine side effects, but I know a lot of people from, in the discourse and stuff that I've talked to, a lot of people have reservations taking the vaccine, not because of the side effects, but because they were concerned that Bill Gates and other people were putting computer chips inside the vaccines to put in your bloodstream.
yeah, it definitely had nothing to do with.
I don't think that's true, but given the fact
But
that
you could understand why people would think that.
yeah, given the fact that they're trying to push that as the new thing now, you always have your identification, but it's in your bloodstream. I don't even know how that would work because what happens if your body short circuits? I mean, your body is essentially one giant battery anyway. And what happens if you get a little overly statically charged? What
Yeah,
happens then?
it's a ridiculous assertion. It's definitely not the case, but I understand why people would think that. It just it wouldn't it definitely wouldn't work that way. And why would they need a chip? All of us carry these around anyway, willingly.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they got us to do it to
I mean,
ourselves.
they already spy on us through our phones anyway, and we give them permission to do it because we have to use any of the apps.
Yeah.
To use YouTube. Well, can we have permission to use your camera and know your location, access all your pictures and photos? Well, why do you need that, YouTube? I'm just watching videos. Well, you can't use us if you don't let us do it. Oh, okay. So I can go watch my videos. Get on Google. You need access to this and this and that. And then every time you speak, Google's listening to you, and
Yeah, it's
they're
listening for you
sending.
to it's listening. It's waiting for you to say, "Hey Google,
Yeah, not only that, but it's sometimes it's not even
I
waiting
don't
for you
need
to
your
say
help,
that.
but
Sometimes it's just listening to you. Like if I say I want potato gnocchi tonight. I want some nice pasta. And Google's going to pop up some pasta videos on YouTube for me. Facebook is going to start showing advertisements of a new set of swords that I want. Amazon's going to pop up with a fireplace. I wasn't even looking for fireplaces. I was just talking to a friend of mine about fireplaces, and then Amazon shows a fireplace for $100, an electric fireplace for $100. So I bought it because they're always listening to everything that you say, so they can sell your stuff for advertisements. So it's hard to it's hard not to justify some of these people's paranoia about some of the conspiracies that they believe in, or should I say conspiracy theories, because not all of them have been proven conspiracies.
and
But
with that, let's wrap this up.
yeah,
We got an hour and 30 minutes in.
yep. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we've had a lot to cover tonight because we have been gone for it's been a while. I don't think we've done one since my birthday. Uh, But we're back. Oh, by the way, I wanted to bring this up here. Let me see if I can find it because I want to do this real quick. Let me go here to my email and go to my other email. Yeah, I got so many emails connected to my stuff here. There it is. Go to this email and uh, where is it? Where is it? Here we go. So this is what I want. This is what I want to show everybody. Let me go ahead and share my screen again. I want to thank everybody. You see our small little revenue thing. This is what we guys. This is what we need you guys for. But I want to thank everybody for this because we have been able to produce significant waves this year, and I'm so excited about it. Look at this. In the year 2022, on Spotify, now this is not our other analytics, this is mostly Spotify's analytics for us. We have on our show here, let's go ahead and take a look. People loved it. I'm very appreciative of all of you guys. We go here, right here, take a look at the analytics here. We created 7,093 new minutes of content. That's 98% more than anybody else who has created in the news category. I mean, we are on a roll. We didn't meet my goal for having an episode every day of the year, but I set that preposterous goal for just to give us something to reach and strive for. But we created a lot of content. Overall, if we take all of the interviews and side materials and the stuff I did with Jay on the Sunday show and stuff I did alone, stuff Rhett did alone, we have over 120 episodes we have done this year. And we have over 7,000 minutes of content. I'm not even sure how to break that down into hours. I don't want to break it down. I know how to do it. I can do the math. Uh, I want to see how many hours on average that is. Let me break that down. 7,093 divided by 60. We've produced almost 120 hours worth of content this year. We did very well. I'm very excited about that. We give us a pat on the back for that. Uh, Moving forward here, now this is them congratulating us, blah blah blah. This one here was a really good one. This was our most watched episode of the year. Was the one we did with Alden Johnson at the beginning of the year. Our most watched episode. It got 571% more streams than our average episode, which is very, very nice. I want to thank Alden for coming on to the show. I want to thank all of our guests. We had wonderful guests this year. Uh, Been able to follow the political scene. It was very, very fun. I would love to speak to any of these guys again. They were great, and I'm glad that we had them on the show. It really helped out our numbers a lot. Thank you for all those people who support Alden because you are supporting our show as well. And our podcast is all around the world. We get a lot of views in places that I would never expected to get views. That we get views in Italy, we get views in Barcelona, we get views everywhere. And of course, our top country is the United States, with 98% of our views coming from the United States. That's no secret. Moving on, I want to show this one. We had 164% more listeners compared to our average week. Now this is between January 16th and 22nd. This is when we had Alden, I believe, and then we were also having more of our guests, Mr. Brooks, Mr. Boynton, David Sellers, um, Keedron Peterson, we had Aaron Lee, we had all these other guys that were on our show. Um, Still kind of upset Aaron Lee for botching us when we were trying to, get that conspiracy stuff going on. Kind of pissed me off there. I can see Rhett gets kind of pissed off at it too. Uh, okay, and so we had a lot of people that were sharing things, which was really really good. Um, we got to redo our ad revenue. We were in the top 10% of most shared globally. Doesn't feel like it because our ad revenue is really low, but we were in the top 10 most shared content, top 10% of most shared content globally, which is really really nicely, and it was mostly from direct links. So I appreciate that from all of you guys that were sharing things. We got a lot from Facebook. We got a lot through text. Instagram, I didn't use Instagram too much, but I'm surprised to see it on there. I was expecting to see some other stuff, but this is just from Spotify. This doesn't have all of our other things like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Radio Public. We're on iHeartRadio now.
And
We're on Amazon
YouTube and
Podcast now.
YouTube. Not on. I mean, I wish we could put all of our analytics from everywhere together.
We'd have to code something to get that. We'll figure it out how we can code everything and take a look at everything. Um, let's see what they like. So this is what our average viewer. This is what they're calculating their personalities of our average viewer. They're saying that our average viewer's personality is they're called a time traveler. Now, what does that mean?
Uh,
Is that our fans, they're audio time travelers. They seek out podcasts that are new to them, regardless of whether they are new to the rest of the world. So we do really really good with people that are looking for new stuff, for fresh ideas, and I like that because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to target people that need an alternate opinion of the facts. And the reason why I say alternate opinion of the facts is because we're going to give you the facts and we're going to give you our opinion about why they are the way that they are. But regardless of that, we're going to bring you the facts. We're not going to tell you something that's wrong knowingly, regardless of how we feel about it. Neither one of us like the fact that Raphael Warnock won in Georgia, but there are reasons why Herschel Walker lost. And we're going to tell you those reasons. We're going to tell you why. We're not going to sugarcoat stuff. And so I do like that we get a good consistent dose of new people that come to see us for fresh ideas. Here we released 28 videos this year, which is and they're in the top 15% of the most viewed on Spotify. Now this doesn't include YouTube, obviously, because we have over 50 videos on YouTube, and I still have yet to upload a lot of our most recent episodes to Spotify. I've been slow balling that. I need to get back to doing that now. I'm going to be doing that over the Christmas holiday because I'm going to have a couple of days off. So I'm going to be doing it over the Christmas holiday to try to get everything all caught up and released to Spotify. But 28 videos, and for them just being able to add that to our ability to do that with Anchor this year, I'm very happy with that, and that we're clearly the videos have helped get us some good views. I would say so. People like to watch and be entertained. I actually created more polls, but nobody actually participated in any of them. So we might do if we're going to do polls from now on, it'll probably be on a Facebook poll or a YouTube poll. I don't know what that means. Let's see what it says. All right, these are our numbers. We got 921% increase in hours, 600% increase in streams, 500%, 570% in listeners, 533 in followers. We really, really jumped up this year. Compared to last year, we did significantly better, and I'm very happy and very pleased with that. And what's this one saying? I know I shared some of these with you. So this is what we have here. And so this is what I think we should be focusing on. We're a top 10 podcast for 31 of our fans. We're a top 5 podcast for 25 of our fans, and we're a top 1 for 11 of our fans. I want to make more of that content like that. And so, in order for us to best do this, uh, if you enjoy our show, if you really enjoy what we're doing, leave us some comments, share some stuff with us on our Facebook page, on our on our private Facebook pages, on our Discord, Story of America on Discord. I'll have to start linking that in all of our stuff. Um, Let us know what type of content you're looking for. We've been doing a pretty good model here, trying to get things together, but we want to produce content for you guys because you guys are the ones that make this worthwhile. So interact with us. Let us know what you like so that we can produce more of it and produce higher quality versions of it. And moving on, they're thanking us for all that stuff there. Blah blah blah. Let's see. Blah blah blah. Speaking of sharing, they said they made something special for us. What did they make for us? Right here, we can choose how to celebrate with our fans. So we can share all of these things here. So let's stay here. We've got 72 episodes. Like I said, we've got more than that. I just haven't released them all yet. We're in more than 3 countries, but 3 countries that are polling over 2%. Really, really nice. Uh, 7,000 minutes worth of content that we produced this year. It's just wonderful stuff, guys. I'm enjoying it. I hope you guys are enjoying it all. And
That's
we're going to see you.
a lot of content, a lot more than I would have expected.
Yeah,
That's a lot of work.
it is a lot of work. A reason why I'm so behind and actually getting everything up is because my work schedule's back 5 days a week and overtime. So I've been a little bit slow on getting things posted and stuff like that. But we're gonna get back on the roll. Um, because Jay is no longer going to be doing our news program. I'm going to do the news programs on Wednesdays, but I'm going to record them on Saturdays. So it'll release on Wednesday, but record on Saturday. That way we'll be able to do things, or I might just do it on Sunday morning news. We don't really do anything on Sunday, so we might can do it on Sunday morning news. I know you probably go to church on Sunday morning. I go to
We
Bible.
got to
Stu-
do a
I
we
go to Bible
no,
school.
I think that Wednesday is not the best day of the week to do news on because it's either you got to cover it from I think towards the end of the week is better anyway. Like, you could cover the previous week's news on Sunday or Saturday or whenever,
Yeah.
just so it's not like right in the middle of the week.
Yeah, I think so too. So yeah, so Sunday mornings, I'm going to start doing that next week. We're going to start doing some Sunday morning news, um, and Rhett and I, we're going to start producing some. We're going to start finishing the series that we individually started on our own. We're going to start finishing those. When we get up in this stuff, we have a nice thing going here with our casual Saturday episodes, but we're going to start producing some more of those history related content and things like that. And we're also going to keep doing this because this is really what gives us a break from the monotony of the politics of it. The politics of it can be really draining, but it's essential because we're covering American history, but we also want to keep us entertaining, educational, and interesting for everybody to watch it. So again, we thank you guys for being a part of this. And Rhett, I think our numbers may be better than some big YouTubers' numbers when it comes to the amount of content we've been able to produce this year.
That's a lot. Yeah, I mean it is a lot. It's, it's
Seven
I mean, I knew
thousand
that
minutes.
your initial 120 episodes. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Even if that's all it was for a whole year, 120 is. I mean, that's more
you
than
know,
that's more than that's like two. 2.5 episodes a week, something like that.
Yeah, some channels they get 10 million views. They're producing, of course they have better quality stuff than we do, but they're producing what, two, maybe three videos a month. Some of them not even that. Some of them you got to get two or three videos every 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, if they have high production value, then of course it's going to be like that.
Yeah, and we've been able to produce, you know at the beginning of all this, we were doing 6 episodes a week at the beginning of all this, and with me going on other people's shows, which again I have to go get those feeds from those people because those can also be part of our show. But with me going on other people's show for as long as I was doing it at the beginning of the year as well, I mean, we were practically everywhere, 7 days a week for a good couple of
Mhm.
months, and it got tiring, but it was worth it, and I'm glad it paid off. We got some really good numbers, and I hope that all of you guys understand how we appreciate you guys and continue to ask for your support, because as much content as we produce, we need to be able to get in front of more people, and so we need you guys' help and support to do that. You share our content, like our content, download our content, and if you want to help us out, we're gonna get a Patreon together. We're gonna start creating a subscribers list for content on Spotify. Um, I'm considering the price value for it because I don't want to lock out new viewers with too high a price, but we want to make this profitable so that we can continue to do this, but do it at a much higher quality production for you guys, and to be able to focus a lot more time on it. I Rhett, I'm legitimately shocked that we were able to produce as much content as we have, considering that we both work full time jobs and don't have as much time to dedicate to writing scripts and getting everything together for this as we did initially when we started. And even then, when we started, it was still really, really, it was really, really tiring, especially when we were following the political scene, trying to go to a lot of those political events to get in front of some people. You know, it's really astounding that we were able to cover so much ground. And I don't think I could have done it without you becoming my co-host. Having two people is so much better than having one person here talking for an hour by themselves, and it makes the time go by so much faster and makes it so much more interesting and less monotone and boring to watch. So thank you for joining me
Yeah,
for this
I
journey.
wouldn't want to be doing it by myself either, and it would definitely be I feel like that if I'm doing something by myself, I feel like I have to keep thinking of what to say next. Like I don't have anybody else to fill the gaps.
Yeah, that's why when I first started, I wanted to have guests because I write a script and I read the script off, and then once I read the story, that's 15 minutes. Nobody's going to tune in for just 15 minutes. So I'm like, okay, let me bounce my ideas off somebody. Well, if you don't have anybody to bounce ideas off of, you kind of get stuck and lost for a little while. Eh, You know, so but and getting you a Christmas present, bub. I'm gonna get you something that you can
Uh,
wear for the show.
like
Gonna
what?
get you a nice powdered wig.
Oh man, I don't know about the wig.
But again, I want to thank everybody for this year. We might make one or two more videos for this year. I don't think we're going to make too many more videos this year because Christmas is coming around. But if we don't make any more videos this year, I want to thank you guys for being with us all year long, making the Story of America with Payson Williams what it has been. A blast all year long, helping us get all this content out. Please like our page on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Truth Social, everywhere that you can find the Sturb America with Payson Williams, Sturb America PW. And we're going to see you guys